Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris, this is Finnegan. He decided he wanted to sit here. And we are chatting with you about a really big shift that is upon us. This is Neptune going back into Pisces. So this is happening on October 22nd, just after our Libra new moon on the 21st. Neptune goes back into Pisces. It will stay at the 29th degree. That is the final degree of the zodiac. Then in December, it will station direct. In January 2026, it will move back into Aries. And then in February, on February 20th, we will have our conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, which is when we fully come into the rebirthing that we have been working with for a while. And so I really want to just call us into this next phase because it's really important. And we have Saturn already has been back in Pisces, so now Neptune joins Saturn. Now the two of them together have been completely dissolving and restructuring reality and how we ourselves are going to be emerging into the new realities that are forming. Now we are of course seeing this happen in the collective. I work with evolutionary and embodied astrology to support us on our healing journeys, especially through self-inquiry, especially as we are coming into the new versions of ourselves that in some ways are always happening because the self is never static, and astrology really shows us that. But we are in a very particular moment of what is happening for all of us. And on these spiritual paths, this is a time for you, these final months of 2025, beginning now, to surrender. That is the word of Pisces. That is the word of Neptune. Neptune is going back into Pisces. What has been ending in your life? What has been ending in how you have identified your own sense of self? And most likely, these are narratives of the self that we have journeyed with for our entire self, our entire adulthood. They are definitely weaving through into childhood narratives. Now, we have, as I'm making this, we were in a very intense eclipse period, cleaning out our Virgo structures of the self. All the outer planets were talking to the sun and the moon during that eclipse season. You have been doing your work of shedding. And now comes a time to really just release, to let go. When we are working with Pisces energy, it is not about work. And this can be really hard because we are taught that whether we're healing or we're trying to build a business or we're working on a relationship, the work here is surrendering. The work here is also witnessing. Witnessing when we find ourselves judging ourselves, witnessing when how is that judgment aligned to the old way of being for you, which most likely is aligned to paradigms of power over patriarchal paradigms that the outer planets, especially because Sedna is here, conjunct Uranus, and that's been trining Neptune and Saturn, sextiling Pluto. Pluto's direct now. They are dismantling those paradigms of power over. And as that's happening, that's part of the new reality that is birthing. Now, I'm going to make other videos that are really looking at the complicatedness, something such as AI in terms of restructuring reality. What I really want to work with here is the energy of how Neptune is supporting, and Gus is trying to remind us that there is play involved here. It's not just work, it's also play. Gus is always good for those messages. Come here, bud. Let's just move your ball. Let's just move your ball. Go get it. And so as Neptune is coming in, and I do love that Gus was just here because this is death and rebirth. There is seriousness, there is grief, but there is also mystical belonging. There is also a joy of the soul that is finally getting to be birthed in a way that literally you came here for. And it's happening now at this time. And please, it really doesn't matter if we are 80 years old or 60 years old or 40 or 20 or any place in between. The judgments that say, I'm late or I should have been this earlier, all of that is it's non-existent in the type of self that is birthing. It happens now. This is when everything is aligning with your soul, with your chart. It happens now. And if you do have personal placements going on right now, all the more that those are the archetypes that are going through transformation in order to help birth you into a new, literally, sense of self. And as much as this does have to do with the collective, this is Neptune and Saturn getting ready to come back into Aries. This is all about you. But this is a rebirth of what intuition, what primal fire even means. And so over these next few months, especially from now through to mid-December, it really is about allowing whatever's been. And again, the last time that Neptune was at 29 degrees of Pisces was in March of 2025. So there may be themes, what was going on in March of 2025. We first started working with this degree point in Neptune in 2024. But in March, there was another layer there. And now we're completing. And that completing is simultaneously ending and beginning. And so really reflecting with, what am I really letting go of? And this runs deep. And what is universe supporting you to let go of? What is unconditional love and the animals and the earth that bring it to us? What is it helping you to let go of how you've self-identified? And again, this is deep, and it's not about you, it's about how you were structured within the environments that you've grown. About how our micro level families are always bringing in and weaving in some of the judgments of patriarchy, capitalism, etc., power over ideologies. Then that happens in schools, then that happens in the workplace. It's all over mainstream media, even when it supposedly isn't. Especially classism is all over mainstream media. And so all of that dissolving so that we literally can be floating in the oceanic being with spirit, because that's what Pisces is about. Leaning into the practices of nature, art that support you, meditation, of course, and just allowing. That's what these next few months are for. Allowing, surrendering, and when you are inspired to create, creating with some of that joy that Gus was demonstrating for us. And then we will move and we will chat about the fire birthing in 2026, but it's really not time for that. It's time to witness what's happening now. And if grief rises, because this is Neptune at the final degree of the zodiac, it is a death degree. But it is the irony that in that final moment is the culmination of all wisdom, of everything. It is Alpha and Omega. It's all there. And so here, grief is not something, ultimately, I always work and teach grief as is a language of love. And this is divine love. And so instead of being kind of drowning in those emotions, we do want to invite them into a space like art, into nature, because there is also incredible rebirth here. And that's what's coming in 2026. So with that, the Bay of Fundy, the Atlantic Ocean out there, and I send lots of Neptunian blessings. Also dream work, of course, synchronicity, working with your dreams, bringing them into your art and your journaling. This is about other ways of knowing. This is not about controlling through the conditioned mind. So leaning into whatever flows in, and I will check in as we go. Lots of blessings. Bye-bye.